Now, 3 weeks ago, we showed you how the Democrat infotainment complex launched Beto O'Rourke into the political stratosphere, complete with a glossy, beautiful Vanity Fair feature. The former Texas congressman was a hot political pinup with an impressive fundraising haul. He went from Texas Senate race loser to a modern-day matinee idol, complete with legions of adoring female fans. But soon it seemed like a sleight of hand, all of it, or maybe just hands flailing. Then came the gaffes about being a part-time parent and his apology for his privilege. And didn't you just start feeling exhausted by it all? I think in this weird news cycle, Beto already kind of seems like yesterday's news. Meanwhile, the newest darling of journalists, Hollywooders, and Metro lefties is the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. Meet 37-year-old Pete Buttigieg, Navy reservist, Harvard grad, Rhodes Scholar. And he's a married gay man, which, if he won the presidency, would be a presidential first. And remember, America likes firsts. The coastal elites, I don't think they've ever loved a Midwesterner as much as they love Pete. He's a charmer.
He is disarmingly charming. He's got this like almost like an innocence about him, but at the same time, he is an intellectual.
Oh, Anna, he's beyond intellectual.
He was so insightful, and I guess the good news is that actually being insightful, being knowledgeable about the issues, and also having a good, positive spirit actually still counts for something in politics.
He's versed on policy. He can talk about anything you ask him.
He's so different from what we have now.
It's incredible to see how quickly he's been able to rise, being the complete opposite of what we see right now in the White House when it comes to the way he speaks, just his calmness, his character. He doesn't even like women.
And, yes, he's humble.
Went to Harvard, went to the UK for further study after that, and that was when I realized it actually really mattered a lot to me that I was from somewhere.
By further study, you mean you were a Rhodes Scholar?
Yeah. So
you're a very, very humble guy.
Leftists and never-Trumpers across the land are falling in love.
We just got inundated with calls by people saying, this guy is the real thing. We love Mayor Pete.
But pronouncing his last name, that's another issue altogether.
Pete Buttigieg, for example.
Pete Buttigieg. You saw Peter Buttigieg, the mayor of Indianapolis.
For South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg.
It's not easy, okay? I think I've made it the whole way through this monologue without botching it once, but don't bet on me. All right, well, Mayor Pete smartly makes light of his last name. Check out the wall of his new office.
we're just finding our way into this new headquarters, which is full of space. It's increasingly full of a fantastic team, and if nothing else, anybody who walks into this place is going to know how to say our name.
Come on, that's cute in a Doogie Howser claymation figure kind of way. But what do we really know about the new It Boy? Well, as mayor of South Bend, he spent tens of millions of dollars on infrastructure. He imported a lot of Lime bikes, which a lot of locals abhor, and he seems to have trouble keeping track of the homicide numbers in his city.
When I was a kid, it was not unusual to have more than 20 homicides in South Bend. Last year, we had 9. That is obviously 9 too many.
If you look at your term as mayor, it had gone up until last year.
Not really true. It was up and down from year to year if you look at something like the homicide rate.
Well, look, Buttigieg is certainly really smart. He worked at McKinsey. It's a global consulting company after finishing at Oxford. Now, he says he's a traditional Episcopalian, whatever that means these days. And in a New York Times column, neocon moralist David Brooks, in full fanboy mode, writes, Buttigieg is gay and personifies the progress made by the LGBTQ movement. But he doesn't do so in a way that feels threatening or transgressive to social conservatives. He has conservative family values. It's just that his spouse is a husband, not a wife. Well, first of all, I don't know how many social conservatives David Brooks actually knows or interviewed for this column, but Buttigieg's support for abortion on demand doesn't qualify. As they did with Obama, the media is attempting to take a novice with limited experience and wrap him up in a warm, fuzzy, personal narrative.
Buttigieg, mayor of South Bend, Indiana, is not only the first openly gay presidential candidate, he's also a newlywed, marrying husband Chasten Buttigieg just last year.
I married a teacher, so I married up.
I'm really excited for the country to get to know him on a much larger scale.
Well, also as with Obama, Buttigieg's parents were radicals. His father, whom he describes in his memoir as a man on the left, was a Notre Dame literature professor, so that's great. But according to the Washington Examiner, Joseph Buttigieg was a committed Marxist who affectionately embraced the Communist Manifesto and worked to, quote, inject Marxism into the wider culture. Pete was close with his father, which you can expect, which will lead, of course, many voters to wonder how far the apple fell from the tree. It's a question he's going to be asked on the campaign trail. But come on, why fixate on any of that? Does it really matter? David Brooks says he is awash in conservative family values. And despite having never held statewide office, Buttigieg has something else going for him. Quote, he's a progressive on policy issues, but he doesn't sound like an angry revolutionary. He eschews grand ideological conflict. God, this reads like an old ode to Obama that Brooks wrote. But I think didn't he write the same exact thing about Obama? The aura and the historic nature of the man is far more important than the substance, kids. Get used to it. But maybe ignore all the gauzy profiles, and you find Buttigieg is pretty much a garden variety leftist. And he's kind of calm and soft-spoken for sure. But this is what he supports. He supports the Green New Deal, a wealth tax, single-payer health plans, amnesty for certain illegals, packing the court with more than 9 justices, and then there's this.
Would you support getting rid of the Electoral College?
Absolutely. It's got to go.
So don't be fooled by the carefully curated public image. The guy believes in a set of policies that would set back our economic gains and take money out of the pocket of people who work for government programs that don't. He would upend the Constitution to ensure that California and New York trump the views of heartland Indianans every time. Last August, he derided President Trump as basically a disgraced game show host. And of Vice President Pence, he said this, a social extremist, the likes of which our country has not known in national politics. Wow, so much for those conservative family values. Beyond his Boy Scout demeanor and Mayor Pete shtick, Buttigieg is but another creation of a media apparatus desperate to oust Trump. Same reason they built up AOC and Beto, to whip up the Democrat base, keep them excited, keep them engaged. Anything to divert voters' attention from their growing 401ks, bigger paychecks, and all that good news that happened because of Trump's policies. Oh, and another thing, the cool fact that Cool Pete speaks 7 languages doesn't change the fact that socialism doesn't work in any of them. And that's the angle.